Thank you so much. My name is Matt Pfeiffer. Welcome to Conversations on Retail. We are hosting today our very first event series, actually called Ask Anything. Live questions and answers. And today's session is about getting your money's worth from Walmart Luminate. This is an experiment, and based on the number of folks that have registered and commit to being here, I would expect that this is going to be well attended. We're also recording it for later. The most important thing that I would say is, as I sort of moderate some questions and answers with our esteemed panel, is this is your opportunity to ask questions, and every one of them will be anonymous, so I won't be reading anyone's names or sharing later who is asking those questions. So I hope that you will have complete confidence as you send those questions. But this session is only going to be of value if you all engage with the process. So the first thing I would ask you to do is, folks are getting warmed up, and as they're submitting questions, by the way, you can do that one of two ways. You can click on the chat button at the bottom, or you can click on the Q&A button at the bottom, and those will come to me, and I will moderate those questions. But Tim, why don't you kick it off? Let me say this about Tim. Tim runs a company called Trend Results, and I've known of Tim certainly for many years. Runs a great company that has been doing a lot of things in the Walmart supplier community for several years. Actually competed against him for quite some time, and just have all the respect in the world for him. So I'm so glad that you're here. Tim, why don't you introduce yourself, please?
Yeah, so I'm Tim Carey. Thanks for the intro, Matt. Matt, we used to be competitors years ago, but it's been great. We started in 2007 as a primarily consulting company for Walmart suppliers, mass retail suppliers, but almost exclusively for Walmart suppliers. And about 8 years ago, we got into the training side of things as well. What we're offering at the time was mostly Retail Link, and as they got new applications like Nova and OTIF and Item 360, we started expanding. And now obviously the biggest push and why most people are on here is Walmart Luminate. So we've started to do training classes, but we're also we've been answering individually hundreds of emails almost a day. So we've decided to put together these kind of webinar series to get these kind of group questions answered, because a lot of them are the same. So I'll go ahead, and that's me.
Yeah, good stuff. Deedee Washburn. Deedee and I actually worked together in a previous life. Deedee is one of the longest tenured instructors in the supplier community, certainly one of the most beloved. Deedee, why don't you talk about your background, because you've got a deep background in CPG before you've begun educating others within the supplier community.
Yes. So I'm Deedee Washburn, and I've been in the supplier community since 2001. Worked with very large CPGs such as Procter & Gamble, Johnson & Johnson, Disney, and then went into, we had a move out of Northwest Arkansas. And so it kind of pushed me into opening my own business and started working with Matt and some of the other people as an instructor. Taught myself how to use Retail Link since 2001, and now Luminate, Nova, and anything Item 360, anything that has to do with Retail Link and Walmart. So a lot of expertise in just in different systems and all things Retail Link, obviously, but also working with buyers and suppliers.
Yeah, great stuff. Thank you so much. And last but not least, my friend Usman Ahsan from Bops. Usman, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about Bops.
Absolutely. Thank you, Matt. It's a pleasure to be here. So, yes, the company that I'm with, it's called Bops, BOPS. It's a collaborative inventory intelligence platform. So we're basically helping suppliers and retailers improve their collaboration, specifically around avoiding out of stocks and overstocks. We help Walmart suppliers, Target suppliers, you name the retailer, and we're most likely helping suppliers optimize their inventory there. We also partner with Trend Results and Tim Carey on some cool initiatives to help suppliers transition from DSS to Walmart Luminate. And obviously, we've been longtime partners with Matt Pfeiffer and Conversations on Retail. So a lot of this audience has probably seen us with the CPFR 2.0 webinars, which Jorge does with a lot of different guests. And this is an exciting initiative to see what the AMA format brings.
Yeah, very good. Well, again, thank you all for being here. We're already getting some questions coming in. And again, the whole purpose in doing this is to get you all as a supplier community asking questions. You've got our promise to protect your anonymity. So ask absolutely anything that you'd like to ask. And while we wait for a few more of those questions to come in, I see a couple already. But Tim and Deedee especially, give us kind of a lay of the land. What are you seeing so far with respect to the migration to Luminate? What are some of the maybe some of the positive things, some of the negative things? What are you hearing and seeing in the classroom? Give us kind of a state of the union.
So what I'm really seeing is people's frustration because we've used, DSS since I've used DSS since 2001, so 23 years of DSS, and then transitioning to a new platform is never easy for anybody. I will say that there are aspects of Luminate that are so much better than DSS and a lot more intuitive and easy to navigate than DSS. And so what I'm seeing mostly is people being frustrated with moving into Luminate. Another frustration that I'm seeing is people being able to convert their reports from DSS to Luminate because the data comes back very differently. It looks different. The entire footprint is completely different. And so that is, I think, one of the biggest frustrations that I'm seeing on supplier side. As they learn Luminate and they start understanding kind of the hierarchy of how it's built and how you pull the data, they're starting to get more used to it. But I think that transitioning from DSS to Luminate in the reporting world is going to be more difficult. One of the things that I've been doing for a lot of suppliers is helping them transition their reports and actually building new reports for them because a lot of the metrics or the way that it was pulled in DSS cannot be replicated in Luminate. Another frustration that I've seen is that Luminate has a lot of things in smaller silos. So for example, store sales and inventory is in one place, and then you have warehouse inventory in one place, markdowns in one place. And so where we could pull everything in DSS in the past, now we have to pull, several reports that don't merge unless you do VLOOKUPs. And if you're not really used to doing, VLOOKUPs and get pivot tables and all of the back end things that Excel offers, it's very difficult. The one thing that I am seeing that is positive about Luminate is the way that they build their reports. They have a canvas. You can see exactly how a report is built. They have fantastic search engines. And, it's different. It's getting used to it. But I think that they do have some really good features that we didn't see in DSS.
Yeah, I think kind of highlight some of those points as well. Deedee and I are in alignment. One of the things that she didn't touch on that I'm seeing from a lot of suppliers is procrastination. This is happening, guys. This is happening whether you like it or not. Technically, this was supposed to happen March 1. They pushed it back to what they're calling Q2. We don't know whether that's week 1 of Q2 or sometime in Q2. We are promised a 30-day notice. But yeah, don't wait. Like Deedee mentioned, both of our companies are working with suppliers on an ad hoc basis to say, look, you have these 50 reports that you run in decision support. They all work. You've got your own templates and they work with that. We need to redo these in Luminate. And a lot of times it does turn out to be more cost effective to just kind of outsource that and say, you doing this for a while. Go ahead and recreate these. And it's also a good opportunity for us to kind of do an audit on the reports that you're already running. These might have been reports you created 5 years ago, and they're like, well, I don't really use that one that much. It might be something that we can consolidate. But yeah, we're going beyond just creating and scheduling the reports. We're also having to recreate all the templates because like Deedee said, the data is coming out in a different format. Instead of going across columns, the data is coming out down rows now. And so all of your VLOOKUPs and your pivot charts and everything that you had are going to have to be recreated. But this is happening. So yeah, reach out to some or at least get trained on Luminate, ask your questions, and we're happy to answer either here or on the line or after the call.
Yeah, one of the great things that we're doing, that Tim and I are doing, is that we're offering to create new reports and to kind of retrofit old reports into new reports, spending time doing that, setting up all the reports in Luminate for the supplier, and then actually spending time with them and teaching them how to update it so that they're not, they're not dependent on someone else doing it for them.
Yeah.
I've been teaching people that have never done a VLOOKUP, how to do a VLOOKUP. People have never, ever, they don't even know what a get pivot table is or a pivot table is, teaching them a little Excel training as well. So that's a place that you guys can, we're a place where you guys can come and help you retrofit these reports and then teach you guys how to update versus having to use a service to update it. Well, we're happy to do that too as well, obviously, but yes.
Yeah, and I want to touch on that training aspect as well. We obviously offer training. Luminate does have some basic training videos and kind of PDFs. However you get trained, or even if you decide to outsource creating these reports, you need, like Deedee said, you need to know how to use this stuff just in case something happens and you can't get a hold of us. You need to be able to do this. Your buyer needs a report by the end of the day and you don't know how to use Luminate. So however you do it, you need to get trained on this because it's coming.
Yeah. Usman, offer a little bit of perspective based on what you're seeing and hearing, and then we're going to jump into the questions.
Yep.
Absolutely. I think Deedee and Tim really hit the nail on the head. It's a lot of the suppliers that we work with, they're definitely feeling a little distraught because they've spent years learning DSS and kind of mastering how to use it and knowing all the tricks, knowing how to pull the reports, knowing how to analyze it. And, when things change, it does feel a little bit like, wow, do I have to do this all over again? But I think a lot of the consensus, at least from the suppliers that we're working with, is there's a lot of value in the data that Walmart is now providing with Luminate. And if you're able to, like Tim said, get started now, go through this kind of semi-painful process of learning it, maybe making some mistakes through this transition period, I think on the other side of it, your business with Walmart is going to be a lot more in a better position because you're now having access to a lot more data on your customers and how that product is moving from the factory to the shelf, and also how your consumers are going from their home to the store. So overall, I think it's a net positive. Obviously, with any sort of change, there is some disruption to the routine and the way that we're used to doing things, but that's part of the process, and that's part of the reason why we're here to support suppliers go through it.
Yeah.
Very good.
I had talked initially about, kind of taking this time to do an audit. By audit, I don't necessarily mean just recreating the reports you need and building a new Excel template. It's also a good idea to look at how you're analyzing this data. There are a lot of automated solutions out there. Bops is one of them. I'm not going to turn this into a sales call at all. We do have some kind of free tours of their product, but they've developed a Monday morning dashboard that is handling a lot of this for you. So while you're rebuilding and everything, again, you need to be trained, but look into alternate solutions, things that can make your life easier while we're already going through this change. It's a good time to make those kind of assessments.
I love it.
Yeah, very good. Well, let's jump into the deep end of the pool with some of these questions. I'm going to ask a two-part question, but I want you to really focus on the first part of the question first, and then we'll come back and address the second part of the question. Let's not put them together. The first question is, when is the basic or free edition enough? What is sort of the sweet spot as supplier teams go where the basic is good enough?
Well, I'll answer that one. I have found that I don't have access to Charter, so I have not seen a benefit to it. I have been able to pull everything that I need for my reports in basic Luminate. There's nothing I can't do. There are a few little nuances, like, for example, we can't share reports anymore. That is a little bit frustrating. Where we used to be able to share reports with other suppliers, we can't do that because that's only for Charter. There are a few things. If you are looking for category data, yes, Charter is going to be a step up and you will really benefit from that. If you are not necessarily looking for category data, and most suppliers are not category advisors and have never had access to the category data, it's not going to make a difference to them. There are a few metrics that you can pull in the Charter version that you're not allowed to pull in the basic version. Once again, I have not found it to be a constraint. The only place that I think that you could see a real benefit is if you have marketplace, e-com, and e-com. So with the e-com basic, all you're seeing is site to home for owned product. So
Yep.
Walmart has to own it. It has to be in the fulfillment center or site to store. That's all you can see. If you have charter, you can see everything that's marketplace. You can see basically Omni, which is all of the channels put together. So you could have more of a cohesive report with all of that. If you're not doing that much with .com, that is not fulfilled by Walmart, then I'm not sure that you would find the benefit. I know that there are a lot of benefits if you are looking for category data. Other than that, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think there are some losses from DSS to Luminate Basic that are picked up again through Luminate Charter. One is PO visibility. You used to be able to run reports and see PO level information in DSS. Luminate Basic does not have that availability, so you're having to revert back to Retail Link's Nova application to get all your PO stuff. The e-com visibility loss, in my opinion, was significant between DSS and Luminate Basic. So like Deedee said, if you do a lot of omni-channel sales where you have a lot of pick up today stuff, store, DSV stuff, you need to, if that's a significant portion of your business, you need it into it. So what I've been recommending to suppliers that we're getting in front of the part of the year is take the tour, reach out to Luminate, take the charter tour, see what the benefits are, get the cost quote, and just do the math on it. I would fully anticipate probably 90% of the suppliers are going to land in the Luminate Basic bucket as opposed to the charter version. But do the math on yourself on your side. If you're already using like IRI data and category level data, Luminate Charter might be a good thing. But yeah, it's a lot more targeted towards category insights, shopper behaviors, survey type of results. I think the biggest limitation with some suppliers isn't necessarily the bankroll. You might have a lot of money to throw at this Luminate Charter option, but if it's not actionable, you can't. It's useless data. So unless you have a relationship with your buyer where you can say, look at these category metrics that we've seen, we think we have a good opportunity for this type of assortment or these adjacencies. It's kind of all for naught. So it's a big wild card question. I do recommend at the base level, reach out to Luminate, get a tour, get a quote. It is a percentage of your retail sales, not your sales to Walmart, but your retail sales. So I know Deedee and I have seen some big numbers come out there, and you just have to do the economics of that decision, but definitely take a tour.
Yep. Yeah. Very good. Talk a little bit more. We've got 2 questions on here. By the way, just a reminder, this is an Ask Anything event. If you'd like to submit questions, you can either click on Q&A and submit those questions, or you can click on the chat button, and we will not name names. So you can offer any sort of feedback or insight or ask any kind of a question. There are a couple of questions here already, though, about there seemed to be some ambiguity with respect to the price of Luminate. Can you talk to that?
Well, we have limited information on what their costs are. It's a little bit all over the board, depending on the supplier. You really have to reach out to Luminate because they will give you a quote based on what your retail sales are.
Yep.
I guess one of the frustrations that I've heard from suppliers is that why is it on retail sales? We have zero control over retail sales.
Yeah.
We only control cost. That's a question for Luminate, for the Luminate folks. Unfortunately, we don't have a hard number. Anywhere from 1 to 5% of your retail sales is what we have heard, and that's kind of what we've been that I got quoted for somebody I work with directly, which turned out to be a lot, and that's annual. So if you're doing, $10 million a year, 1% of that is $100,000 a year, that's $100,000 every single year. Yep. And that's just 1% at retail.
Yep.
And, I think reaching out to them and finding out what they want to charge you for it
Yep.
because they're not consistent. Everybody does not get the same amount.
Yeah. And I think that answers one of the questions that I'm seeing in the Q&A about, is it true that they're charging 2% of your revenue at Walmart as the price of Luminate? It might be 2% in your case. There isn't a fixed value to it. So definitely need to reach out, just to know what's out there first, and then see what the price is and just do the economics of it.
Exactly.
I do want to step back just one moment and kind of distinguish that there is a Luminate free version, which is the basic version. So that one, you don't necessarily have to pay anything for it. It's free, just like DSS. Then there's the Luminate Charter version, which Tim and Deedee have sort of alluded to, where you'll have to pay a percentage fee. So there are two different versions. And just for you to get started, if you haven't even taken that leap, I think the Luminate Basic is the perfect way to get your feet wet. And then you can go from there, have the conversation with the Walmart team, and really see if paying for charter is the right decision for your company as it is, rather than kind of a holistic one-size-fits-all approach.
Yep. And speaking of the two plans, you already have, if you have Retail Link access, you already have Luminate access. It's
Automatically
same login credentials, so you don't have to go through any process. Everyone should have Luminate access right now, Luminate Basic access.
Mm-hmm.
All right, a couple more basics, and then we're going to sort of jump all over the place with some of these very specific questions. But talk about the anticipated rollout of Luminate with respect to Canada, Sam's Club, et cetera.
No ETA.
Go ahead. Yeah, there's no ETA. I don't know that they're going to roll out. So Sam's Club has Madrid.
Mm-hmm.
So they use a completely different system. As far as I know, and I have not heard anything different, I may be completely wrong about this, but as far as I know, Sam's is not going to be involved in this. They're going to continue using Madrid.
I agree. Madrid is so new that it would, I mean, it's only been around, 4 years, 5 years? So I can't imagine them creating a whole new platform that soon.
So, and then as far as Canada goes, they've said that they will roll it out, but they have not given any dates on it. We have no ETA on it.
Yeah, I've been using as a baseline kind of the other initiatives that Walmart has, like 17 with OTIF. We had a little pilot program in the U.S., then it rolled out all over to the U.S., and within like a year, 18 months, then it started going international. Same type of thing with Nova 360. These other applications tend to be about 12, 18 months. So, I mean, again, this is a guess, but I would say probably this time next year, we start getting some communication about that, maybe a little bit earlier.
It is coming though. Changes.
Yeah, I can't imagine it's not going to happen.
Yeah. Oh, it'll definitely happen. They have rolled out everything for Canada, and then they'll roll it out for international.
Yep.
Yeah.
And not everything will be available for international either. That's one thing I found, is that when they roll out things for US and then they roll them out slightly smaller in Canada, some of these things never get rolled out for international.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
As Retail Link super users for many years, what sort of hidden treasure are you finding within Luminate? What are some of the features that you're the most excited about that maybe not everyone even knows about?
Deedee, I'm going to let you take this. You've dug around a lot more at the just ground level with these reports. I'm going to let you reveal the Easter eggs.
Okay. As far as if I were looking at DSS and Luminate, one of the things that I am loving about Luminate is that, so in DSS you have columns, items, location, options, and then submit, time, and then submit. Yep. So you have all of these things that you have to go through and make all these checks. In Luminate, you have columns and you have items, and you can actually go into columns, and if you look over to the right-hand side, there's like a little waterfall, and you can choose your filters right in there. You never have to even go to filters. Yep. I'm loving that. It is so easy to add your filters immediately. Yep. I do love that when I'm building my report, I have a canvas and I can look at what it's going to look like. And I can go, oh, I don't want that column there. And I can actually move one column one way or the other. Some of those things are pretty exciting. If I can't find a column that I'm looking for or any metric that I'm looking for, the search engine is fantastic. It is much better than DSS. It is night and day from DSS.
I just want to jump in real quick on that one. I want to jump in real quick on that one. Yes, you can search for stuff, and it's very intuitive, unlike the DSS version of search. Unfortunately, when they mapped columns over from DSS to Luminate, they changed some names. So something that you used to be called is a vendor STK number is now a vendor stock ID, I think is what it's called. So you can get close, but some of the column names have changed, and there is an explanation where they'll show you what the map is between the old and the new, but sometimes you have to get creative with your search if you can't find something.
Okay, so I have a solution for you guys for that.
Nice.
So there is, if you go to the support area, there's a glossary.
Yep.
If you click on that glossary, it will give you the name of what the DSS column was called and what the new column is called.
Yep.
And so when I started using Luminate, I used that quite a bit just to get really ingrained in what my DSS, like if I didn't, like item description, item DESC now is item name.
Yep.
And some of those things. And so going to that page and going to the glossary, you click on it, it'll tell you what data set it's in. It'll tell you what the old one was, what the old name was, what the new name is. I am liking that. I really like that they put that glossary in. Also, when you're looking for a column, if you can't really find it, you can kind of, let's say I put in item in the search engine, it'll show me everything that has the word item in it. And if I hover over that column, it gives you a very, very a concise explanation of what that column is all about. Mm-hmm. And I am really liking the way that they're helping suppliers understand what is in there and what that column does. So that's another thing that I'm very excited about. So they have put a lot of thought behind how to help suppliers transition over in and looking for old names versus the new names. So those are a couple of solutions that you can, jump on right away. But I'm telling you, that glossary was a game changer for me immediately.
Okay, we're going to pick up the pace. We're going to pick up the pace a little bit. Sorry to cut you off. We've got several questions that have come in about shopper behavior. So let's dig into those. Which shopper behavior reports are most useful for unlocking and supporting Luminate ROI?
Usman?
Let's see. I think the way that I could address this is just going in terms of what shopping behavior actually is, because a lot of suppliers, I believe, are still on the sort of Luminate basic, and shopper behavior is one of those that's available on the. Sorry, there wasn't noise there, or
no, only for charter.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's only for charter rather than for Luminate basic. But in terms of reports, Tim, this one's on you. This one's on.
Yeah. So there are a lot of reports that are similar to what DSS has, like market basket reports. If you've ever gotten into those in DSS, like what sells with my item, quantity, purchase frequency, that are dealing with how the consumer is interacting with your products at the store. Are they buying multiples of your items in the same transaction? Are they coming back next week and buying the same thing for consumable items? That one at first sounds like a creepy report, but they're tracking, payment method. They're saying, hey, look, if this same payment method was used 2 weeks ago to buy this same item, that gets added to these market basket reports. So you get the market basket reports in DSS were very clunky. They used Excel macros that were created probably the first day Excel was a thing. I mean, they are old macros. And so it didn't really provide the insight that I needed. I know that the charter version of those similar reports gets you a lot more granular information, but they're also, a lot of the reports are bringing you not just what they're doing in the store, but how they got to the store. Was it reaction to an ad, a circular? Was it reaction to a survey? So there's a lot of just massive information that's available. They could cover this. It's hard to explain this online, but if you take a tour with Luminate Charter, they can show you bullet point by bullet point what is available with screenshots of what all this information is. But it's really about identifying the consumer's journey, not just your aspect, which is, from your factory to the store. That's all Luminate Basic, but how the consumer got there and how they're interacting with your product. So that was kind of harkens back to the point I made earlier that, the data is great. It can give you a lot of insights into the category, not just applicable to your Walmart business, but to CPG entirely, to see what shopper behavior is like. But unless it's actionable, unless you have a responsive buyer or a relationship with your buyer where you're already doing maybe some promotions or they're open to new ideas, having the data is 50% of the battle tops. And then getting that implemented into and turning that into an actionable insight is a completely different purview than just getting the data. So I'm going to say again, take the tour, see specifically what's involved, what's available, and then just make your decisions.
Yeah. If you got any other questions on shopper behavior, go ahead and send those now. We'll ask a couple more. Where does shopper information come from? Online only shoppers, credit card information? Hopefully that question makes more sense to you than it does to me.
Yeah. So they're tracking, like I just mentioned, they are tracking every transaction, whether it's online pickup today, online DSV, online ship from the store or ship from the fulfillment center, whether it's a brick and mortar origin sale, they're tracking it. They're not just tracking, the purchase amount like POS data. They're tracking if your item was in a cart, 18% of the people who bought this item also bought these 5 items, and 2 of those might be yours, which could give you potential for maybe this is a color assortment and they're buying all of these in the same transaction anyway. Maybe we can offer them a multi-pack of the same item. So they're tracking card information. They're tracking just basket information, but the purchase frequency and stuff like that. That's where they're coming more on the credit card end. On what they don't provide, and I wish they would get into this, is more of the online interactions, like abandoned carts. If people dropped your item and put somebody else's item in there to replace it, how many searches are coming up, really getting into the granular details of online. I don't know if there's any timeline for that. I know they've got to be collecting it. It would be insane if they weren't collecting it. It's just making that available to the suppliers would be, in my opinion, incredible information on how to optimize your online ads to maybe reduce cart abandons or reduce even returns. So there's a lot of data that's available that I know they're collecting that just isn't available to the suppliers yet that I would love to see. I'm not sure if I answered that question or not.
Let me jump in here. So a lot of that data that you're just talking about, Tim, is really available through Walmart Connect. If you are subscribing to Walmart Connect, they're giving you that data. There's other ways to get it with, if you have Marketplace, there's also some data that you can pull from Marketplace that'll give you some of those metrics. But Walmart Connect has done a really good job. If you sign up for Walmart Connect, they will do a lot of that background information for you and pull, ads and how abandoned carts and a lot of that stuff. So that's another resource for you guys to go look at is Walmart Connect. I know a supplier that's using Walmart Connect and they have been very happy with the reports they're getting back. And also Walmart Connect's really good about sending you reports and sending you the information about these things. A lot of the things you were talking about, Tim.
Yeah, and it's a relatively new application or new venture of theirs. I guess I was addressing the e-com side that's provided on Luminate Basic. So don't expect to be able to get in any deep dives into your omni-channel sales from Luminate Basic. And I don't believe you'll even get that information that Deedee was talking about in Charter version.
And I don't
completely separating that application.
And I don't believe that the intent of Luminate was ever to address those things. I think their intent was more data driven versus marketing driven and online driven. Although the Charter version can pull a lot of data with Omni because it pulls all the channels together, or separated, or however you want to pull them. I think that those other metrics were intended to go through another application.
Yeah.
So in the interest of sort of audience experience, I want to change the way that we're doing this just a little bit, because some of these questions are beyond my pay grade. So what I would ask of the three of you is to look at the questions that we have in the Q&A queue, look at the questions that we have coming in on chat, and then if you can sort of group these together and take them in the next logical sequence. I'm going to turn it over to you. The one thing I will say, though, is Michelle, thank you so much. Michelle sent in, shopper behavior is cash and card transactions. 100% of transactions are covered in-store and online. The card is traceable, tender through debit and credit card transactions. You can see full category transparency by individual UPC level. Everything is unmasked. So Tim and Usman and Deedee, I'm going to let you all take it from here. Pick the questions that sort of most logically follow and can be paired together just to make this a better experience for all. And everyone, just keep the questions coming. These are great. We've got so many coming. Keep them coming.
Yeah, I can take point on this. I've been kind of monitoring these in the background while I'm talking and listening. And some of them we've covered already, like how much is the basic and paid version. We do have a webinar chat. The major focus on e-commerce. Is there any discussion on adding additional features to the basic version specifically for e-commerce? I can't imagine they are, especially when they have Walmart Connect now and they have a deeper dive into Walmart Luminate charter. But you never know. They are being very proactive. The Luminate team are very proactive in responding to supplier feedback. I've seen some new initiatives that were implemented that I know a bunch of suppliers were kind of suggesting that they missed from DSS and would like to see implemented. So they are constantly assessing all of their feedback. But as far as anything that's been announced, I haven't seen anything there.
Good point, Tim. If I could just add something,
yeah.
I think for all the suppliers that are on this call, like Tim said, the Luminate team is being very proactive in kind of taking in that feedback from suppliers and trying to incorporate it. I believe they do monthly updates and they release those updates so we know what's new and maybe what's been enhanced. So if there's a feature or if there's maybe a change that you really want to see, we would highly, highly encourage you to submit that ticket to them, communicate to them, and be proactive, show why it's important, and you just might get to see it the next month in Luminate.
Yeah. While we're on again, I'm kind of going with Matt's suggestion and trying to pull all of these random questions together into categories. Since we're on omnichannel, there's another question about what is the best way to break out digital or e-com versus brick and mortar traditional sales in Luminate? Is OPD data readily available in Luminate to see all full channel breakup? Luminate Basic? No. That's one of the biggest losses that I've seen from DSS omnichannel reports to the Luminate Basic. Like Deedee had mentioned, I think it was Deedee mentioned earlier, the only activity you can see in the Luminate Basic online reports, e-com reports, is owned inventory or stuff that Walmart owns. They purchase it in bulk from the supplier. They fulfill it from the online fulfillment centers or ship from actual brick and mortar inventory. But you won't see the ship from supplier, DSV pickup today. I don't think even shows up in Luminate Basic. But that would be one of the biggest losses in my opinion. Another one that I'm seeing, this was getting back to, this was probably for Deedee. What is Walmart Connect and what is Walmart Marketplace? If you could quickly summarize those, who needs those two applications?
Okay, so Walmart Connect is it's a group that it's owned by Walmart, and what they do is they help you maximize sales on Walmart.com. So they create packages, they create advertising, they help you create banners, they help you create update your keywords, make sure that you are like more visible, and help you move up on the pages on Walmart.com. And they're awesome. They are a really proactive team. And once again, they give you a lot of feedback on what you're doing well, what you need to work on to get your items on Walmart.com optimized, whether they're owned or marketplace. So that takes me to marketplace. What is marketplace? Marketplace is also, it's part of Walmart. It's Walmart.com, but not owned product. This is what is DSV, which is direct store vendor. So, you sell it directly to the consumer. So somebody buys it online and you fulfill it and send it to the consumer versus Walmart fulfilling it. So that's marketplace. And we don't get any on Basic. We don't get any data for marketplace. So marketplace is that you own the product, you get to price it. Walmart takes a percentage of that sale, but you get to price it. So you're not selling it to Walmart. You're not creating costs. You're creating items in the system, uploading images, same as you would do with item series 60, similar. But you own those items. So you're not giving them a certain cost. So let's say you have a one of those blow up jumpy thingies and you want to sell it for $300. You don't have to sell it to Walmart for $250 and have them make $50 on it. You're going to sell it for whatever you want. You're going to have your own margins. They're going to take a cut of that. They have a fee schedule that they're going to charge you for managing the site.
Exactly.
Okay. One that is kind of, I think the final one I'm seeing from regarding online is, I think this is going to be on the Walmart Connect side. Is it true that you can start getting page level online conversion rates for your products in some reports? I heard that rumor. That would be incredibly valuable data for understanding the quality of your product content, deal offers, etc.
One thing I want to address, I did see something on here. Question is, can Luminate data be shared with other retailers? 100% no. No. You are not allowed to share DSS data with other retailers. You are not allowed to share any of this data with anybody outside of your company. Even people that work on other teams. You are not allowed to share this data. I want to be extremely clear about this. Do not share the data.
Your Retail Link user agreement also extends to Luminate. They are very, very cognizant and wary of this data getting out. So beware of that kind of stuff.
Yes.
So do you want to, Deedee, address this part about, you probably know a lot more about Connect than I do, at least on a top level, about whether they're getting page level online conversion rates. This was kind of what I was talking about abandoned carts and, how the items are performing online, almost similar to market basket reports for the online portion of things.
I can't say for certain that you are receiving that. Once again, I would reach out to the Connect team and ask them what data they get back. I've just heard from a supplier that they were getting great data back. I have not worked directly with Connect. I know that I know a supplier that has been very happy with them. Their products have really moved up in the algorithm. They're able to sell a lot more on Walmart.com than they were, and they are getting great reporting and metrics. But I'm sorry, I don't know 100% what it is.
That's okay. It's a new initiative for sure. I haven't fully dove into it as well. Quick one. This should be easy. Can DSD or direct store distributors, CPGs, still see data for their items within Luminate? Yes, absolutely. And you're primarily going to be using the store and sales inventory report that'll get you store level data. You won't be able to see your in transit stuff. You won't have, like, some of the reports just won't apply to you. You possibly won't have a forecast or a supply plan, or now they call it that is category specific. You won't have DC metrics, things like that. But yes, you can see, I would say, depending on what reports you're already running in DSS, you should be able to replicate those in Luminate Basic.
Yeah.
And
even in DSS, DSD suppliers never had a forecast or a supply plan because they're not modularized. So only things that are modularized have those two metrics that you can pull.
Yep.
Okay, let's keep going. These two are kind of combined. Will the accounting APIS and accounting data transfer to Luminate or remain part of Retail Link apps? That ties in well with a question. Is there a way for Luminate to be utilized for the financial team to use it as an assistant to monitor or dispute invalid chargebacks? The answer to that is the only thing Luminate is replacing is DSS. It is an analytics tool. You're still using Retail Link for item 360 item setup, for PO management through Nova, OTIF scorecard, PO tracking through Nova. All of your accounting functions, dispute resolution, accounting, looking at your paid details and unpaid details, APIS, those are all going to remain the exact same. And that is, I can hear people breathing a sigh of relief right now. As far as using Luminate to research any of that data to help with disputes, that part is not going to be available. You'll have to get your data from other places in that regard, from APIS or wherever you're currently getting it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, let me go here. Okay, I'm getting some duplicates through chat and Q&A, so I'm just culling through them. Do marketplace sellers have access to Luminate?
In the past, they have access to Retail Link, so they did have access to DSS. So same thing applies. Anything you had access prior, you will have access in Luminate. So once again, to Tim's point, it is only replacing. So think about this as DSS 2.0. I guess we did have 2.0. DSS on steroids. It's DSS. That's basically what it is. It's just called Luminate. Yeah. So anything you had access to prior, you will have access to in Luminate.
Yep.
Not everything. Obviously, there's charter stuff, and then there's
as
far as the application, you will have access to it.
Yep.
We'll have to, I'll say this, you will have to use for DS for Marketplace, you might have Marketplace 1, you will only see it's only for charter. So you will have access to Luminate, but only charter will give you Marketplace data.
Yep. One about we're getting back to, there's a lot of stuff about consumer behavior. One is, does Luminate provide household size data? Man, I wish they had kept up this data from Store of the Community. It was one of my favorite applications. It's still technically, you can pull the data in DSS, but it hasn't updated in years. But there used to be an application, I guess technically there still is, called Store of the Community in Retail Link. And you could also pull the data, customize in DSS, where you could run a report and it would show you store number 1, and it would have different breakdowns by household size, by ethnicity, by income level, age range, if you have kids or not, if you rent or own housing. I mean, it was fantastic. You could see if there's an amusement park next to your store. Very granular data, and it was an RIP moment when it just stopped being supported. So it, as far as I know, it does not have any kind of demographic stuff like that in it. Luminate Charter might. But I've never seen anything there relating to that kind of very simple community demographics. It's more about the individual shopper and what they've gleaned from them. Easy segue from the next question. Can I see shopper attitudes and perceptions within Luminate, like surveys or whatnot? Is there a price to those? Are the shoppers behaviorally verified? That is a question for Luminate Charter when you're taking that tour. They can answer that. Hands down, I am 90% sure the answer is yes. I know that they've got survey data that is included in this. As far as whether they are behaviorally verified, I'm not sure what their method is of getting this data, or if it's a verified purchaser or anything like that. I can't imagine they're just taking random comments from the peanut gallery or anything like that. But yeah, that is definitely something that could be done. Michelle, someone is helping us out here.
No, I just think that it's part of the customer perception module in Illuminate Charter. Obviously, these are verified shoppers that have kind of opted in to give their survey feedback. But like you said, definitely have that conversation with the Illuminate Charter team, because they can show you what this actually looks like. But that is an option in Illuminate Charter, not in Illuminate Basic, but Charter, yes.
Okay, we do have a helpful person answering some of these questions as well with us. Charter is Charter in shopper behavior. has consumer demographics by store and by UPC. I don't know if it includes household size. I imagine it does. But yeah, so that is available in the charter version only, though not in the basic version. So again, if you're really looking for that deep dive into your consumer behavior and who your customer is and how they got there and how they're interacting with your product, you're likely going to either have to get data from another outside source, get some IRI data or something like that, or you're going to have to opt for the Luminate charter version.
Exactly.
Let's see. I think we have. Let's see. How does this compare to Circana or NIQ? What about numerator? I have no idea what that question is. I bet Usman knows this.
Yeah, so I mean, IRI, Circana, Nielsen, those are sort of the retail data providers that have been providing category level data for quite some time. And then numerator is kind of similar to what I described in the customer perception module of Luminate Charter, where you have kind of these surveys from everyday shoppers like you and I, and then we're submitting data for the brands and retailers to use. How this differs, I mean, I'd say the first starting point is that this is from Walmart. So those companies have that data from across different retailers, whether that's in club, value, or what have you. And now you'll have the Walmart specific angle with Luminate. I think digging deeper, that's probably a question that we can spend 60 minutes or even more on, but there's definitely a shift where the retailers kind of want to own and monetize that data themselves. So,
Yep.
The difference being that you have one Walmart specific versus many retailers, but I think in the future, it will be interesting to see how that kind of dynamic plays out, where if more retailers take the Walmart approach and kind of bring that function in-house and, provide it to suppliers on their own rather than outsourcing it.
Okay, cool. I'm looking back through everything while you were talking. I think I might have addressed this. I might have addressed this in a roundabout way, but what types of insights can suppliers gain from Luminate Basic with regard to .com originating sales and performance? For the second part of this is, I think, the one that I think I highlighted a little bit earlier, is for Basic, is .com data a step up or step down from DSS? A step down, a monumental step down. Because it's only for owned inventory. So if you had true omni-channel sales and had online sales originating from different points, you are not going to see that like you were able to see in the current DSS reports. Unfortunately, you will in the charter version, but not the basic version. I am pretty sure. Okay, wait, there's one more.
A new one.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, we just have a new one coming. How are Walmart buyers utilizing this data with CPGs? Is there Walmart advocacy for CPGs to use Luminate? I think beyond advocacy, it's almost a kind of requirement that DSS is going out of style.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to transition one way or another. Deedee, Tim, you guys want to add the...
Yeah, so just so you know, the buyers are transitioning too. DSS is going away for everybody. The buyers... I think one of the reasons that there's been some delay, I think there was a little bit of pushback from buyers trying to learn it as well. But buyers are using this. Everybody will be using this. There's not it's not an opt-in or opt-out opportunity. If you were providing data for your buyer, if you were providing data for your company, you will be needing to transition. If you never wanted to use DSS again, then you'll never use Luminate. But if you are using DSS in any way, shape, or form, your buyer's going to be using Luminate, you will be using Luminate.
Yeah. The high level language when they first started announcing Luminate and talking about it in kind of broad terms was similar to the language that they used when OTIF was announced back in 2017, which was one version of the truth. There were a lot of blind spots in DSS and a lot of ways where the data that you pulled could be completely different or significantly different enough to that your buyer ran to create a discrepancy of who's right. Luminate's aim is to make those discrepancies shrink a little bit. And that's why a lot of suppliers have seen when they have a DSS report to run whatever it is, a sales report, are now seeing when they recreate that in Luminate, some differences, some either loss of sales or gain of sales that are being reported between the two systems. This is a different database. It's pulling data in a different way. And so the goal, at least on the high level communication from Luminate, is that this is supposed to reduce those discrepancies between what Walmart home office is seeing and what you're seeing as a supplier.
I think it's worth reiterating. DSS and Retail Link is being decommissioned starting in Q2 of Walmart 2024. You as a supplier and your buyers will also be using Walmart Luminate and not DSS starting now.
Yep. Okay. We do have
Tim,
one. Yeah,
Tim, if I may, let me jump in with something, and you all can sort of take a breath, take a drink, and reassess the questions that remain. But for anyone, just out of respect for our audience, for anyone that has gotten the answers to the questions that they came with that are ready to drop off, I think it would be it'd be great if you all could provide your contact information. The thing that I think is most important for companies that don't realize this is there's just no reason to go about this alone. There's all kinds of help that's available. There's courses that's available. There's one-on-one coaching that's available. And so sort of talk about the things briefly, talk about what you do at Trend Results, talk about the courses. I know we've got a course on demand on our platform, but talk very briefly about how you can help companies, and then we'll move right back into the Q&A.
Sure. Yeah. I know we had a couple of people that have just joined that. Just to kind of get us up to speed, my name is Tim Carey. I work for and I am Trend Results. Sometimes I feel like I work for my company, but we were established in 2007, and we were primarily consulting, acting as kind of a third-party analytics for suppliers, handling all of their day-to-day analytics services. About 8 years ago, we got into the training side of things, both in person and online. COVID turned that almost entirely into online now, so we don't do a whole lot of training. They're all live webinars. But yeah, almost everything from the training aspect right now is Luminate. So whether, and I think I touched on this earlier, whether you use the free version or the kind of free training that Luminate, their actual site offers, or you look for a kind of third-party resource, Deedee is actually the one who does our Luminate webinars for us. So they're about 3 hours usually. It takes about 2 hours to get through the content, and then we're on to Q&A. So they're very small groups. But yeah, that's what we do. I'll let either Usman, Deedee, who wants to take over here.
Deedee, go for it.
Okay. So, in addition to the training, to the 3-hour training, which once again, it's very, very interactive. I like my classes to be interactive. I like for people to ask questions throughout the entire class so that we're not saving everything for the end and then having to go back and ask questions. So the class is very, very comprehensive. You will go through every single one of the cards. You will build reports, and then I'll have you build additional reports. In addition to that, through Tim's company, we offer other services such as we said in the beginning, transitioning, kind of retrofitting your DSS reports into Luminate reports, and then teaching you how to update them. Once again, we have services that will do that. Usman is working on some incredible dashboards that that you guys can look into and purchase, but also if it's basic reports or reports that you guys would like to update, we will teach you how to update the reports we create for you.
That is go ahead. I'm sorry, Deedee.
Right. One of the things that we're doing is rather than retrofitting reports, is having to create new reports. So go ahead.
Yeah, I think that is probably 50% of our days right now. In the last month or so has been simply getting a hold of what the reports that you're currently running in DSS and replicating those in whatever fashion we're able to in Luminate. Beyond that, though, there is, by extension of the format of the way the Luminate data comes out, we're having to recreate Excel templates to process this data, or make suggestions on like a software solution like Bops that does all of this for you. It is I've kind of been hinting at this the entire time with, as far as like, get training from Luminate or get training from us or whoever. Reach out to Charter or Luminate and take the Charter tour, get the pricing. Reach out to Bops about taking a free tour of their software. Get your ideas right now. Get what's available. This is a perfect time when you're already having to almost go down to the studs on rebuilding this thing to just see if there's a better way. It might be software. It might be just outsourcing the creation of these products. It might be a quick training, whatever it is. I do know that Matt, as far as keeping, I've dropped my contact information into the I think Matt did as well. If you need to reach out to us, I know Matt is going to have we're recording this, so there'll be a recording posted usually pretty quickly, and that'll have all of our contact information and stuff. So we're happy to answer questions that we weren't able to get to today. We answer them all the time. If that ends up turning into something where we need to kind of get into a more formal type of thing, we're happy to talk about that as well. So yeah, just explore your options, I think, is the biggest takeaway right now with all the changes that are happening.
As far as my contact, if you guys want to reach out to me, please make sure that you reach out to Tim. And Tim and I are working on these projects together on everything. And so anything that you guys need can go through Tim, and then Tim will reach out to me, and we can do an assessment and decide what you need. You may need very little, you may need nothing, and maybe just to answer a question, or you may need more than that. So, but Tim is kind of coordinating the work that we're doing together.
Okay. Yeah, great. Thanks for volunteering me for that. That's fantastic.
Well, I'm doing.
No, it's fantastic. Yeah, I'm doing a lot of the kind of administrative and the initial onboarding and Q&A of what you need, and then either we're handling it myself or Deedee's doing almost all of this stuff. She's doing a lot of this point stuff, and I know she's learning Luminate. She's becoming an expert user very quickly, just procedurally having to do all of this stuff. So if you want to consider this possibly a time savings, which can roughly reduce to a soft cost savings, reach out and we can get you kind of we'll have to get a scope of what we're talking about, whether we're talking about 5 reports or 100 reports, and we can get you, kind of some rather fixed costs.
Don't be selling 100 reports.
If that's what they need, that's what they need. I don't think anybody would ever need
that work, Tim. Someone has to do that work.
Yeah, I don't think anyone would ever need 100 reports. I think there would be an easy way to consolidate those, but you never know. I've gotten into these training classes before and seen, someone goes into their My Reports and I see like 500 saved reports. Like, what are you doing? So let's see. I've got one other question, I think. I understood that we would be getting at least 30 days notice when DSS would be discontinued. That is correct. At least that's the formal verbiage. They didn't say week 1 of Q2. They just said Q2. So they did promise us 30 days, whether or not that happens or not. But that just gets back to my point. Assume that's not going to happen. Assume you're just going to log in one day and DSS is going to be gone. Start either learning, getting educated, taking a tour, looking at a software solution, recreating the reports on your own, or finding a way like through Deedee or I that can do this for you. But don't procrastinate. I never operate with mass retailers in the under the guise of it's going to happen exactly as it's going to be communicated. Things change. So just assume that this is not. Go ahead.
Yeah, I feel like what's going to happen is that they're going to let you know that all of your reports have been decommissioned.
Yeah.
And you will try to go in there and it'll all be gone.
Yep.
So what I would recommend is start going through your DSS reports, copying the recipes, putting them. What I started doing with my DSS reports is I would copy the recipe and created like a PowerPoint presentation and just dropped them, just copy paste, and then started rebuilding those. Yep. I think that if you start doing that now, you will not get blindsided when they say, "Oh, sorry, everything's gone." Yeah.
Or at least you'll have a record of it. If you weren't able to recreate them all in time, you'll have a record of what all your recipes were.
Exactly.
Let's see. Is this data nationally representative? How can we make broader assumptions based on Walmart sales? Boy, that's a big question. Yeah. So I think the way I'm interpreting this is there a way to apply what you've learned from Walmart to other retailers that you might be selling to? I think there's a lot of variables there. A Walmart consumer is
very different.
Sometimes significantly different than a Target consumer. There are certain areas that target the consumer wants to go there, and certain that they want to go to Walmart. Largely, Walmart is recession proof. If anything, their business actually increases during kind of recessions or inflationary periods. But I think I'm getting that question interpreted correctly. Yeah. Okay. Build recipes now. Yeah. Good. I'm glad that I got that point through. It was one of the first things I said and one of the last things I said. I imagine just based on the amount of emails that we're getting and the questions that we're kind of fielding either in these webinars or just over email on a daily basis, I imagine the number of questions, the number of requests, the number of trainings requests are going to increase significantly once that message gets sent out, and the message that appears in Retail Link about ending in Q2. Once we get that 30-day notice, I think that's when the panic's going to set in for sure. So we're trying to educate people up front before that happens. If you happen to need any additional help, we're happy to help on a more formal basis.
Yeah. If you're in the US and if you are a Walmart supplier, consider yourself in the transition from DSS to Luminate.
Yep, this is happening. Let's see. I think we have covered. I'm scrolling back real quick just to make sure I didn't miss anything. I was trying to group them like Matt suggested into yeah, I think I've got it. Can I see? Oh, here's a new one. Oh no, that is not a new one. Okay. I don't see anything else.
I think you hit all of them.
Can either of you speak to anything that you think was not addressed that you're catching from your own clients and your own interactions that nobody asked here? I mean, these are all, the reason I'm asking is we're catching suppliers in all different phases of their Luminate process. We're catching suppliers with questions like, well, what is Luminate? And we're also catching suppliers like, I'm trying to build this advanced report that I have in DSS. I can't get all the columns, so we're having to work on getting, like Deedee was saying earlier, the data is very speciated in Luminate, where you can get sales data report, you can't get forecast data in that same report. So we're getting people coming in from a lot of different places. And so I wanted to kind of get maybe Deedee, I know you're having a lot of interaction day to day with suppliers. Are there kind of some questions that maybe we haven't been posed to us in here that you're seeing?
I think there's a little bit of confusion on forecast versus order, or the order forecast, the store forecast versus the order forecast.
Yep.
So I continue to get that question. They're like, well, I pulled the forecast and
which one?
But it doesn't match up with. So let me start with this. Your data is not going to match up to DSS. And honestly, the sooner you learn Luminate and the sooner DSS goes away, those questions will stop. You will not have choice on this. I really am actually, now that we know where we're going with Luminate, I'm actually looking forward to losing DSS because I don't want to have to continue going back to DSS to try to validate my data because it won't validate. But so the forecast is make sure that the forecast, where we used to be able to pull it all together with the store numbers and everything, you have to pull it in a separate card, where they call them cards. I call them tiles, but call them whatever you want. And then the order forecast, which is what we used to call supply plan. One thing about order forecast and the store forecast is that you cannot use your vendor number. This is a big confusion. Do not use your vendor number to pull the data. You need to use your item numbers. It will not pull your data if you ask for the vendor number back. But that's a question that I've gotten over and over again.
And there was another little trick to that that actually Usman had pointed out to me. I don't know if they've resolved this or not, but on the order forecast, formerly the supply plan, depending on what day or what time of day the report ran, you would either get data or not, depending on your settings, because you can, in the time range, you could select, I think, yesterday or as of today. If you had today scheduled and the report ran before 2 p.m., you would get no data found. So I don't know if they've resolved that or not. Usman is the one that pointed that out. The workaround to me is the order forecast for yesterday is just as good as the order forecast for today. We're looking at broad strokes here. The thing about supply plan, whether you call it a supply plan or order forecast, that I try to tell suppliers, it's more data, and that's good. That's a good thing. Just like with the sales forecast, Walmart's consumer sales forecast, take it with a grain of salt. Do your own audits on it. Technically, it is built off of consumer history, sales history. Technically, the order plan is built also off of sales history, but also inventory loads and holiday seasonality. But do an audit. Don't just take the order plan, the order forecast, and submit it to the logistics folks and the procurement folks to say, hey, this is the magic document we've been looking for. They're going to order this many cases in 6 weeks. Sometimes it might be true, but I usually say, okay, once you start getting this data, do an audit. Look at the report and say, okay, 2 weeks from now, they say they're going to order this many units or this many cases from this ship point to this DC. Did that happen or not? And just do your own little audit internally, and you might find out that it's always 30% high or always 10% low, or it's right on, or it's variable. If you can determine whether or not let's say you find out that your order forecast is always 40% higher than what they actually order. Okay, if it's always 40% higher or close to that, I can just adjust the numbers down and I'll have a basic working document. If it's variable, meaning both the precision and accuracy are off, that's a much harder one to troubleshoot. But don't just take any data, especially relating to forecasting and ordering and procurement, and just take it blindly. Do your own audits of what's really happening at ground level before you just start trusting any data.
One thing that I wanted to address, what you were talking about with the yesterday versus today. One thing to always look at is a timestamp on that report and when it was updated last. And that'll help you determine once again, yesterday is just as good as today. And I always choose yesterday because I, don't want to mess with it, and it's not going to change that much, or change at all, actually. But always look at your timestamp. Timestamps are super important. One thing that I found this week was when I was trying to run reports on Sunday, because I'm a psycho and always run everything on Sunday.
Who doesn't?
Us Walmartians do. I mean, we just have a life. It's Sunday for reporting.
Game. It's important.
It's important. Yeah. So everything that I tried to run on Sunday, I made sure I looked at the timestamp, because nothing was updating on Sunday. I had to run everything on Monday like a normal person. Yeah. So just make sure you're looking at your timestamp.
Yep. And speaking of when you run reports, I know Walmart's week ends Friday, runs Saturday through Friday midnight. Don't run your reports on Saturday. They might run early in the morning, and you've got some West Coast stores that haven't updated yet. So just run them Sunday at the minimum to catch a full previous week.
Well, actually, Luminate does not update things on Saturday. So
they don't.
They don't. Everything gets updated on Sunday.
Okay.
Everything gets updated on Sunday.
So you're always going to capture data full for the previous week. All right. See, I'm learning stuff on this call as well.
Because the timestamp said April 28th, which was the previous Sunday.
Okay.
Then it had been updated April 28th. It's always updated on Sunday, never on Saturday.
Perfect. Okay. I am not, let me one more scroll through. I'm not seeing any new questions. I know, I don't know who's been marking them as answered. Thank you for whoever's doing that. I've been scrolling through the open questions, and I don't see anything that has been unanswered or not addressed under combination with another question. But I think we're okay. Don't fret if you haven't got your questions asked or answered. If I've missed one by chance, we've got a recording of this is going out. It's going to have all our contact information as well, whether that's Matt or Usman or Deedee or myself. Somebody can somebody can answer your question about, either what happened here or questions that weren't answered or next steps, resources that are available, whether through us or free resources. We're happy to help. That's the whole point of these kind of webinar series, is holding everyone's hand and dealing with all the unknowns of this transition.
Yeah.
We're all going through it.
Yeah, very good. Well, Tim, Deedee, Usman, thank you all so much for making time to do this. This was our first attempt. I'm very encouraged based on not only the number of folks who registered and attended, but the quality of the engagement and the questions, and looking forward to doing a lot more of these. Our next event is actually on the 22nd, 2 weeks from today, hosted by Matthew Adam Smith, and it's going to be focused on scaling your business with Walmart.com. So I hope to see a lot of you with us. Again, go to trendresults.com for all kinds of information about courses and resources, and I know that they would be delighted to help you. And the folks at Bops have created just a great Monday morning. Usman, what's the name of that again? Monday morning.
It's
Monday morning Luminate dashboard.
Monday morning Luminate portal or dashboard. If you'd like a live tour, we'd be happy to give it to you as well. So just reach out. You'll have our contact information.
Yeah.
Very good. So
harkens back to my point about, explore your options. There are a lot of easy ways to handle data now that go beyond just manually extracting reports. And we worked with Bops on a much larger project that they already had, which was a CPFR demand planning tool that was very, very robust and with some pretty big clients under their belt. And they showed this to me initially, and I was like, hold on, we need to boil this down a lot. This is what the suppliers need to see every Monday morning. They need their major KPIs, drill down, do their filters. They have this artificial intelligence bot now, and literally just type a question in, and this software will give you data in that format. So it's pretty fun. It's a free tour. I think you guys are doing, is it 30 days? I think you have like a free trial where they'll onboard you and you can play around with it with your data for free. So again, just explore options.
Yeah, exactly. Very good. So whether you're tuning in live or watching the recorded version of this, at some point down the line, send us your feedback. Send it to Tim. Send it to myself. Let us know what you think, and just be brutally honest. We've been in the business long enough that we can take it. Give us some feedback on what we can do to make these sessions better. We're committed to doing, like I said, a whole lot of them. So again, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to our panel. I look forward to seeing you all again very soon. Have a good day.
Thanks, everybody.
Take care. Thank you.